Thanks for tuning in, everybody, to Horror Heads. This episode, we are kind of sticking in this century, which I know is a little hairy sometimes, but we're going to a movie that's not even 10 years old yet. Can you believe that?
It's not even 10 years old?
Not even 10 years old.
Wow.
And we're going to be talking about the Nope, just kidding. There is a 1997 movie of the same name that was a James Garner movie, but that's not the one that we're talking about. We are talking about the 2007 movie.
Oh, crap, I watched the wrong movie.
That would be awesome. I've never seen the 1997 movie. I have no idea if it's the same thing at all or not. It could be, I'm not sure, but we're talking about 2007's Dead Silence.
Ooh, yeah.
And when
it's the one if you... Okay, this is going to go back a little bit, but if any of you all remember Blockbuster Video, you remember that they had a whole wall dedicated to this film at one time.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
Remember how they would have, like, multiple copies of a...
oh, sure, yep.
Of a new arrival? Well, like, literally they had, like, a whole wall of nothing but Dead Silence, and I remember because my son was absolutely terrified of that wall because he hated dummies.
Oh.
ever since Slappy from the Goosebumps episode with the Night of the Living Dummy, he was absolutely terrified, and so every time we'd go to Blockbuster when he was really little, there'd be that wall, and there would be all the, the cover of the DVD case was of the dummy, and he just freaked out.
Yeah, this came out in the period of time that I was not going to any video stores at all. So I don't remember there could have been, we had a couple of video stores still in town back when this would have came out that probably would have had something similar to that. It didn't have any Blockbusters, though. Actually, I'm trying to remember the last time I used a Blockbuster. It probably wasn't too long before this came out, actually, because when we used to live, before we moved to where we live now, there was a Blockbuster not too far away from us that I don't remember if we frequented it too much. I know I actually applied for a job there one time, and because I cannot pass the retail test, I didn't get hired there.
What was the retail test?
Oh, it's that test you take if you apply for a retail job. The one where they ask you, like, if your grandfather came in and stole a candy bar, would you call the cops on him?
Oh.
That kind of thing.
Okay.
And I don't, and everybody's even told me, over the years, well, just answer it the way that they want you to answer it. Well, what's the right way to answer it? Well, you got to be honest. What? I got to turn my grandpa in for a candy bar? But
that's funny. I had in a whole lifetime ago, I was trying to become a police officer. Did I ever tell you that?
Oh, no, not at all.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was back 10, 11 years ago, somewhere around there. And I was applying for police officer jobs, and I ended up getting hired. That's a whole other story. But anyhow, I don't know if you're familiar with the process to becoming a cop, but first you got to do a physical test. Then you got to do a written test. Then you got to do a psychological test. Then you got to do 3 interviews, and I mean it's just all these different things. But anyhow, I was getting really far up in this one department, so they called me in for the interview, and it was like, me and like these 3 big shots in the department, and I remember one of the things they asked me was, so if the chief of police. If you pull over the chief of police and he's drunk, what would you do? Would you, at that point, what would you do? And like, I was really nervous, and he said something. I think I said, well, I guess I'd like take him and, bring him in or something like that. And they like looked at me and they're like, wait a minute, you're telling me if the chief of police was drunk, you would handcuff him and put him in the back of the car and take him to to jail? I'm like, and I was, so stressed out in the interview. I'm like, I guess so. And I think that's why I didn't get that job.
So let me ask you this. Was this about the same time that Sylvester Stallone's Copland came out?
Actually, it was after that, and I did get hired, by the way, and I got hired at the sheriff's department, and it's funny because it's real quick here, but I got in, I did all this was like about 2 years after I'd been applying for every department, and because they come up with a list, you go apply for the department, and then they put you on a list, and then as people retire or quit or whatever, then they call you off the list, and the list is like good for a year or two. And so finally, I was doing this for about 2 years, and then I finally got hired, and like I got where they actually called me in and okay, you're hired kind of thing after like 2 or 3 interviews. Got the job, and they say, okay, great, we're gonna call your wife because we need to talk to her and let her know what's up, and that because wives freak out about this at first, and we just want to calm her down and all that stuff. And so I think they called her. Then they're like, okay, so we're going to send you the police academy, and that's like a couple months of training, and then you're done, and then you go into the department, and we'll start the training and all that stuff. So they're like, okay, cool, and they're like, okay, we just need you to go to the doctor and do your physical. So I did everything. I passed every possible test and interview and all this, this giant process. So then like, just go in for your physical. So I go in for the physical, and I fail the color blindness test. So then they held me on for like a few months, and they were like, yeah, we still want you, but we got to find like a doctor who will like sign off and say, yeah, you can do the job even though you're colorblind. And there was another guy who failed it too, and they were kind of like, he was like the guinea pig. So they were kind of tossing him around to different doctors, and finally it came down to where nobody would sign off to it, and then they kind of said, well, they're not signing off for him, so we're just going to have to let both of you go. I'm sorry, and this and that was it. So that was a brief stint at being a police officer.
Interesting.
Many years ago.
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever heard that story.
Ah, that's funny because it was such a big deal back then. But yeah, you learn something new every day when you're talking about movies about ventriloquist dummies.
When we were doing, I think it was the Child's Play episode, it might have been the Curtains episode with the doll that was in there. And we were kind of like, hey, if anybody out there knows of any cool, like, movies with dummies in it, let us know. And I had seen this movie back probably in 2007, if not 2008. It was whenever it, like, came, like, out on home video. I might have rented it, but if I did, it was probably through Netflix at the time, because we used to do that a lot with the DVD to your door service.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
In 2007, probably that's what we were doing. I don't
really
think we were. I don't think they were streaming quite yet then. Maybe they were. I don't remember.
I didn't know Netflix was around at that point.
Oh yeah, the DVDs to your house. I mean, when did that start? I mean, that was been going on for a while.
Okay.
Because I mean, that was the death of. That was the death of the video stores. That's what killed off Blockbuster and all of those things. Let's look it up. 1997 is when Netflix started.
Are you serious?
Yep.
I had absolutely no idea. Wow.
Okay, cool. So, 1998, after it was first founded, it started its DVD by mail business, so in 1998. In 2007, it expanded its business to streaming media while still doing the whole DVD thing. And they still do the DVD thing.
Do they?
Yeah, it's a different service. I think it's...
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's still owned by them, but I think it's like, instead of like Netflix, I think it's like DVD.com or something.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I'm not sure if I saw this on DVD or if I saw it on the streaming service of 2007, because we had Netflix back then, so we had both. And if any of you out there remember when Netflix first started the streaming stuff, it was like, not horrible, but there was like really nothing on it. Not like now. I mean, we were just watching some previews for some stuff the other day, and they're doing a whole bunch of stuff out there now again, which is, we've talked about Netflix stuff on here a bazillion times. But Dead Silence from 2007, though, I watched this, like I said, when it first became available to stream or on DVD or whatever, and I didn't really know back then what it was about, other than, you have the cover art, like what you're saying, kind of freaked your kid out. It has a dummy on it. You could tell it's a ventriloquist dummy. And then it has this like weird, like rotten hand, like shushing the dummy. And threw it on. This was the first movie in a few years, since actually the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that literally freaked me out. And I still remember why it freaked me out to this day, and it was because the way that this movie uses the opposite of what most movies use. You have almost all these movies, they use the whole, like, when it's a climatic scene and it gets like, like it just, the music amps up and something's like going to happen. This one did the complete opposite. When it was getting to a scene, it would go silent. And it freaked me out. I don't know why It did, but it just like freaked me out. And then when we were doing the prep for this show, I watched it again a couple of days ago, and it was probably the first time I've seen it since the first time I saw it. Watched it. Scared the shit out of me again.
Well, good. That's what it was supposed to do.
There's a couple of the scenes in there you're like, oh, Jesus, damn it. Freaking got me again. And it had been so long since I'd seen, it'd been like whatever 8 or 9 years since I had seen it the last time, that I was almost going into it fresh. I was going in and I kind of forgot some of the stuff that had happened.
The reason I was so excited about this film, well, there's two reasons. For one, James Wan directed this film, and prior to this movie, he was the one who kind of came out into the public because of him directing Saw, which in 2004, which was to me like the first horror movie in the 2000s that I actually liked. Because we went through the really terrible dry spell of the 90s where horror was so just atrocious. And then all of a sudden this movie Saw comes out of nowhere, and it's like, holy crap, they can still make horror movies. So I was like a pretty big fan of Saw when that came out. So, knowing that James Wan was part of this, and he's kind of gone on to become like a horror guy at this point. Like he's becoming like the 2000s version of, well, I don't want to say it, but I guess the comparison could be John Carpenter, because he's got and he also, well, before I go on, he did Insidious, The Conjuring, Insidious Chapter 2, so, and The Conjuring 2. So I mean, he's really kind of making his way through horror in in this millennium.
So
and
far,
also,
you have not named a movie I don't like.
And he also, which I got to give him so much credit for, he created Billy the Puppet, which is the puppet in the Saw movies, and which I thought that design was just awesome. And so this guy knows what he's doing. This is a talented guy by far, and he's our age too, by the way. He's born in 1977. Holy crap!
Wow.
So, knowing that this was the follow-up to Saw, I was like really excited to see this movie, and I will say I was let down. I was disappointed. I hate to say that because there's some good elements of this movie, but I thought that there was it could have been done better, I guess is my opinion. We need the definitive horror ventriloquist dummy movie, and it's still yet to be made, I think.
This movie does have its flaws, I will say that for sure. We'll get to those in just a minute. The basic gist of the movie is there's this young couple in their apartment in the city, and they get this unmarked package delivered to the door. They open it up. It's a ventriloquist doll. The boyfriend or husband or whatever he is, He leaves to pick up some dinner, comes back, and his wife has been murdered mysteriously. He goes back to the town that he came from because there's this poem that he remembers from when he was a kid, something about Mary Shaw and all of her dolls, and don't let her hear you scream. And then, so he goes back to the town where he was from to kind of investigate the murder on his own, because this was the thing that really bugged me about the movie, is the police in this movie are like, you're our number one suspect. And the guy's like, oh, what about this doll that was delivered to my house? We don't care about that. And then there's the scene where he goes back and he breaks back into his apartment that's all taped off and stuff. And the doll is like still there. And then he like picks it up and he takes off and goes home. That was the one thing throughout the whole movie that really bugged me, was the police work in the movie. You know, because the cop like follows him back to the town, sees that he went back to the town, and then he's like, you're not in trouble yet, but don't do anything else. And then he keeps following him around. And you're like, what the hell kind of police work is that? That's the one thing that really bugged me about it.
And that was Donnie Wahlberg as a police officer in this movie, who he also went on to do the sequel to Saw, which was kind of cool. He was kind of a strange detective in this film. Like, he was real kind of pushy.
Yeah, I did not like it at all. His character in here, the whole movie really bugged me, and I almost think that that's what it was supposed to do when I was watching it. The most recent time, I was like, why the hell is this stupid cop in here? And then you get to a point where you're like, oh, wait, I feel bad for every person in this story except for that cop. I hate that cop. And so I don't know if that's why he was put in there, because even you have the story of this lady with her ventriloquist dolls, and you feel bad for her. You feel bad for the guy who lost his wife. You feel bad for all the other characters in the story. So that's the only thing I can think of was, the cop was put in here just to be kind of the bad guy of the story. It's the only thing I can think of. That, and Donnie Wahlberg is he's a horrible actor.
Not a fan, huh?
Not at all. I don't know. I'm not a fan of any of the Wahlbergs to throw that out there.
There's some elements of this film I do like. You know, one of the things in my mind is when, towards the end of the film, when they go over across the moat or whatever into that little island, and they find the place where all the dolls are. And I thought that was kind of cool. And of course, the twist ending, which we won't give away, was kind of cool, had its moments. I've always thought the ventriloquist doll idea is a great idea for a horror movie. And I know back in the 70s, there was that movie Magic with Anthony Hopkins, which was more kind of like almost like another type of Psycho. And that one, I mean, so I'm trying to think, like, what's the definitive ventriloquist dummy movie? I really don't think it's been made yet. The closest thing I can think of now goes back to when I was a kid. There was a short film about 15. I don't know if you watched that yet. I sent you a link to it, but it was on. I used to watch the USA Network they had like a USA Up All Night, or not Up All Night. It was before that. It was Saturday Nightmares. And they would play a horror movie, and before that they do the Alfred Hitchcock Hour, Ray Bradbury, and all kinds of stuff like that. They would put in these little short films, these little short horror films, and one of them was called The Dummy. And it was a short film, I think it was maybe 10, 15 minutes long, tops. And it was about it's a husband and wife, and the husband leaves and the apartment, and the wife is alone with a ventriloquist dummy. And the dummy comes to life and like basically attacks her, and she tries to escape it the entire time. And I always thought that little short was just terrifying because of the way it was filmed. It kind of reminded me of a nightmare. So that to me has always been the best ventriloquist horror film that I've seen, even though it's just a short film. And I was hoping that this would kind of, expand upon something like that and make it even better. But I don't know. This one didn't really do it for me.
It definitely has its moments. I will say the very first moment that I got all excited about, because we talk about this a lot on this show, is when the movie's first starting and it has the Universal Studios, like whatever you call splash screen or whatever. And the first thing I was like, oh, hey, cool, this is a Universal movie. It'd be awesome if Svengoolie did this one. But
yeah, that would be cool.
You have a couple of characters in this movie that are I thought were done really well, and one of them is you have in this little town that the husband goes back to. You have this funeral director who is running the funeral parlor. I wasn't 100% clear who the woman was, if it was his sister or if it was his wife. I never really quite got that. But what was her name? Marion?
Yeah, I think so.
She's kind of like got dementia or Alzheimer's or something a little bit. She's not quite all there. But she seems to kind of sense that something's going on in the background. And so she's kind of giving these like warnings and stuff. And it's funny, when I was watching it this most recent time, I was like, that's Ralph from Friday the 13th. That's who that is.
Oh, yeah. Like what do they call those again? There's a name for that type of a character.
Oh, is there? Is it Ralph?
No, it's the guy who warns you about bad things coming your way. What? Oh gosh, what is that called?
I've never actually. I guess I never realized that was actually a.
There's a name for that, Harbinger.
But yeah, that was that character there. Like you had already said, to the doll, who, oddly enough, his name is Billy in this movie too.
Oh, interesting.
That doll was creepy as hell. The use of silence in this movie I thought was brilliant. It was just, the way it was done I thought was really cool. Then there was a couple of scenes that still, like I said, freaked me out a little bit. But one that didn't really necessarily freak me out so much, but I was just kind of, gives me the chills a little bit. Again, there's this funeral director, whatever you want to call him. He runs the funeral parlor. He was the son of the guy who ran the funeral parlor before him, and there's this flashback scene actually involving this Mary Shaw character, and she had passed away, and she's being prepared for her visitation, or whatever you want to call it. And this boy sneaks down into the basement of the funeral parlor to, I guess, get a glimpse of her in her coffin or something. He like climbs up on the side of the table, and the coffin's on the table. Well, the coffin like tips over, and the body tumbles out of the coffin, like kind of onto this kid, and he scurries away and stuff. But the only thing I kept thinking of is, if you were the kid that was filming that scene, like how like traumatic that had to be.
Right.
To you,
right.
I mean, and it's probably nothing. I mean, you're making a movie. I'm sure it wasn't like freaky at all, but the whole time I'm like, oh man, I can't imagine being like, kid probably had nightmares for years after that.
Sort of reminds me of the scene with in Pet Sematary when they knock over the coffin with the little boy in it, and you see like his hand kind of move up and down.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that I guess my opinion on this film is, I'm still waiting for the definitive horror ventriloquist dummy movie, and just hasn't come yet. And I was kind of hoping this would be it, but is it, ventriloquist dummies, kind of like clowns, it's one of those horror icon type or horror image parts of the horror imagery that people latch onto, and it's like, oh yeah, that's quite a creepy image, and we just need a good story and a good concept, and I think I think we would have there could be a really good movie out there.
Well, me and you should just make it, I guess. I don't know.
You know what? That might not be a bad idea. And I think we could do that at a barn with a cell phone. So I think.
Yeah, might as well. Let's do it. Yeah, I'm trying to think of any ventriloquist dummy movies outside of this one that I've ever really seen.
Did you see Magic?
No, I haven't. I don't think I've ever seen that one.
Okay.
I mean, I know there's a lot of doll movies out there.
Yeah, there was Magic with Anthony Hopkins in the 70s. My mom was a big fan of that movie. She had the book. I remember as a kid, I always saw that book. And then, not movie-wise, but probably one of the best-known ventriloquist dummy characters was Slappy from the Goosebumps TV show. And, you and I were too old to care about that, but my son sure as hell was terrified of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh gosh, he was just absolutely terrible. There were like maybe 2 or 3 of the dummy episodes on that show, and each one, I mean, he'd like literally had to like run out of the room or cover his eyes every time that dummy was on the screen. It really got to him.
Cool. Not cool that it freaked. Well, kind of cool that it freaked him out.
Yeah. So I think that was like a big one. There was a couple episodes on the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, the Talking Tina doll.
Talking Tina. Now that wasn't a ventriloquist dummy, but They did have a couple of ventriloquist dummy episodes. I think one was actually called The Dummy. I could be wrong. But
and I seem to think too that maybe Tales from the Crypt might have had one at some time.
Yes, do you remember that? I don't know if you probably saw that with me. Or actually, that might have been when you moved. It was that 90s Tales from the Crypt HBO TV show that was on. They had one with Bobcat Goldthwait.
Oh, cool. Now I'll have to look it up. I don't remember it, but it seems to ring a bell.
All right, here we go. You'll remember this. If it was actually, I remember our mutual friend that we talk about a lot. Him and I used to watch this pretty consistently because I taped it. It's about this ventriloquist who is Bobcat Goldthwait, and people can't understand why he's so good. He barely moves his lips and everything, and then you find out later in the episode that he was born with a twin brother attached to his hand. So it was like his one of his hands is basically like his twin brother. So like he would put like a ventriloquist dummy over the hand, or over his brother, and it was a whole different personality. It was a great episode. That's probably one of my favorite episodes from that 90s show. Wow, I actually said I liked a 90s horror. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, I think it's like 2 or 3 times now you've said that.
Very, very strange.
It is very weird.
Must be the Budweiser. That's the only explanation I got.
Well, you're drinking the full octane stuff tonight, or the high octane stuff.
That could be it then.
This is the second episode in a row where this has happened, where we have kind of sort of disagreed a little bit on the movie, which is all right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. At least we haven't gone full Siskel and Ebert yet and just like we're yelling at each other like, oh my God, your opinion's retarded. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. It's a great movie. Yeah, I really did like this movie. Like I said, the only thing I did not like about this one was the cop in it. And it wasn't anything against cops in general. It was just the whole... It was unnecessary for the movie. Or I shouldn't say even not necessarily unnecessary, unbelievable. Because why is this cop just letting the prime suspect in this murder case, oh yeah, go do whatever you want to.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Right.
But yeah, I give it a thumbs up for sure. I really like this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say, I'm gonna go ahead and give it I'll give it a thumbs up just because I'm gonna say it's something that it falls into that category of horror where it's not like classic and not like, it's not something you're going to watch over and over and over again. But it's something that I think that at least one viewing would be somewhat enjoyable, and you might like the the twist ending. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a thumbs up, although I'm not a strong thumbs up.
Donald Trump thumbs up?
A Donald Trump thumbs up. Yep, exactly.
That's going to become a thing on this show.
That'll be it, yeah.
Thumbs down, thumbs way down, thumbs way up, Donald Trump thumbs up.
There you go. That's what it's a Donald thumb. Watch it if you're a horror fan, but don't expect to be don't expect that you're going to watch this every year or it's going to be on your October playlist.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's been 8-9 years since I watched it. I don't know if I'll go back and watch it again anytime soon. It's not one of those movies, and I don't know if this happens to you quite a bit, but this actually happens to me quite a bit nowadays, where I'll watch something and then to get over with, and I'll be like, I kind of want to watch that, not right away, but like a couple days later, like, I kind of want to watch that again. The prime example, I guess, would have been Star Wars from last year.
Oh, yeah, that I was hooked on. I love that movie. I could watch that endlessly.
Which is weird. I haven't watched it probably in, it's November. I bet I probably haven't seen it since when it came out on DVD or Blu-ray, and we watched it like 2 or 3 times when it first came out on Blu-ray. Since then, I haven't watched it in however many months it's been, but.
Yeah, it's been one of those. I've been thinking about that one too lately. I've been like, I got to put that back on.
Yeah. Well, me and Mark are going to try and hook up for the new Star Wars movie that comes out, Rogue One.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I have similar reaction to that one as I did The Force Awakens. It's still up in the air if we're going to do a show around that one or not. We'll have to see. That might become like an annual tradition because Star Wars movies are come out every year now forever. But.
Yeah, that's right. Definitely we'll do episode 8. But we'll
for sure.
We'll kind of play this one by ear.
And I was reading a thing the other day, which I thought was hilarious, is there's a petition online now to get George Lucas to direct episode 9.
Really?
Yeah, and there was like one guy was like, why the hell would you want him to direct episode 9? He wrecked the prequels and Return of the Jedi.
Poor Lucas.
Yeah, well.
Oh, well.
I've read a couple of times, it's always best to, it's not always best for the guy who created the series to keep his hands in it the entire time.
That is true.
All right, guys, this has been Horror Heads. Thanks for listening. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram. You can find us on all your podcast outlets. And we'll talk to you next week.
See you later.